Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. We are pleased to be joined by the Iowa baseball head coach, Rick Heller. How's it going?
Good, Casey. Thanks for having me on.
So I know we kind of just talked about this, but getting ready for the season. I know practice starts literally next week. Overall, how do you think things are going over in Iowa City?
They're going good. You know, we were able to have our guys come back on January 15th, and we're in the 4-hour a week as far as skill instruction that the coaches can be with them. They can be with the strength coach another 4 hours, and then the rest of the time is on their own as far as the captains organizing things and them getting their work in. But you know, you're always worried the most about getting your pitchers ramped up properly and avoiding injury and putting those guys in a good situation. And quite frankly, they don't give us much time to do that, you know, with practice the 28th and us opening up on the 18th of February. You know, if they don't come back in good shape, there's really not much of a chance for them being ready to go by game one. So, you know, that month that they're away from us for break is probably the most important one in a baseball player season as far as getting ready to go. And our culture's good, and the guys work really hard over break, and I feel like our guys came back in good shape. So that was a big plus.
So talk about like where you're at right now. I know that with this normal season, you know, with this season being more, you know, unlike last year, what's that going to be like to have a, you know, more normal structured type season?
Well, I mean, we're all looking forward to it, and if you look at our schedule, this is probably as tough a schedule as ever been played at the University of Iowa, and you know, a little of that was by design, and a little of that was by bad luck with teams canceling on us in the first 2 weekends of the season, and you know, the first 4 weekends we scheduled and wanted to challenge ourselves and prepare us. Hopefully for a year where we can get an at-large bid to the NCAA regional with improving our RPI, and then Texas Tech and Central Michigan, the first 2 home series, you're looking at the number 4 preseason team and Texas Tech, and the number 14 in Central Michigan, and you know, both those teams have some really, really good players. So those will be big challenges as we head into conference play. But you know, I would tell you that you know, COVID is still a scare for all of us. You know, any breakout or even if it's if it's 2 of your starting pitchers, I mean, those guys are going to be out for a while with the protocol, and then it just makes it difficult for them to jump back in. You're kind of seeing that, you know, what's happened with our women's basketball team. I mean, it's really hurt. You know, what they've wanted to do and what they've been able to do, and you just got to deal with it and fight through it and do your best to be ready to go when you get your guys back. But you know, you're talking baseball, you miss 15 days with a COVID situation, even if it's one player. You know, that's sometimes 12 games. So you know, I think all of us, when I say all of us, all the baseball coaches in the country are just sitting here keeping our fingers crossed and hoping we can make it through it with our full teams.
Yeah, I talked with Greg Goff yesterday at Purdue, and he was also telling me about some of the travel things that they're doing, you know, more of avoiding airplanes, because as we know, a lot of baseball teams travel commercial flights. So how are you guys going to handle that? Are you guys going to take more bus trips this year or anything like that? What's the plan with that?
Well, we really can't, Casey, because of the distance we are to a place you could drive to and be in warm enough weather to play. You know, it's just virtually impossible for us to do that. And so, you know, we're heading to Charleston, South Carolina, to Corpus Christi, Texas, to Dallas, to Irvine, California. There's no way you're going to take a bus to any of those places. And I guess personally, I'm not very concerned about the air travel, because you're going to be masked, and you're going to have the right kinds of masks, and you're probably as safe as you're going to be. It's gatherings on campus, it's gatherings in restaurants, it's gatherings, with friends. That's the stuff that I think will, if it does knock us out, will knock us out. And that's where we are really talking to our guys about, you have to do your part and you have to stay out of those super spreader environments that the normal college kid is probably going to be in. We have to be smart, and when we see ourselves in a situation that isn't good, to get out, and then hopefully trying to get 100% or close to 100% of our guys boosted in addition to the vaccination. Our team was really strong as far as percentages go with the vaccination, and now to fall into a better protocol, if things do go poorly, you definitely want to be boosted in our system. And so we've got good report back on our guys with that. So yeah, I mean, not a whole lot in my eyes that you can really do. And quite frankly, I'm not worried about the travel near as much as I am when they're not with us, if that makes any sense.
That makes sense. I know there's been a lot, trips out to Maryland and Rutgers. We'll have to maybe involve that. I'm not sure if you have to go out there, but let's talk.
We do go to Rutgers. I mean, but like I said, I'm not concerned. Once we have the guys, I feel way better than when we don't have the guys.
It's true. That's also very true, Rick. Let's talk about your team for a second. Talk about like some of the guys that what people are going to expect out from the Hawkeyes. Some top returners, kind of just go around the diamond for a second.
Yeah. Well, let's start behind the plate. We've got fifth year senior Brett Mcclary is going to come into the season for the first time in his career as the penciled in number one guy. And Brett had a good year for us last year, and he had a good summer. I just think from where he is now to even 2 years ago, I mean, the improvements in the work that he's put in, and he's ready for that. And you need an experienced catcher to be back there, especially with the quality of the pitching I think we have this year. And then Tyler Snepp is another returning player. When healthy, I think Tyler's one of our top 2 or 3 hitters. Whether or not with his back he's going to be able to be part of the catching day in and day out, that's still TBA. More in a DH spot, starting the year out. Just hoping that his back's going to hold up, and it's a big wild card for our team this year, because if Tyler Snepp is healthy and playing day in and day out, that really helps our offensive lineup. And then Andy Nelson was a freshman last year, limited playing time, but looks to be at least day one, probably the third base starter. And then Andy brings a lot to the table because he has power in his bat, and he's extremely fast. I mean, he's game-changing type speed if we can get him on base. And then you've got Brendan Scher, back. I guess he would have a COVID year if he wanted to come back another year, but essentially a senior at shortstop. I really feel like Brendan's in a better place than he's ever been coming into this season. When I say that, I'm talking more offensively. He's always been in a great place defensively, but I feel like he's primed to have a really solid breakout type year offensively. You got Isaiah Flard back at second base, if that's where he's at, if he's not DHing, and one of the better hitters in the league. And then you've got Peyton Williams back at first base, and I don't know how many people really understood what he did for us last year. I mean, with the injury situation, bad hamstring from day one, and then partially tore his quad and played the last month of the season with that, and still put up good numbers. And all of us in the program know what he's capable of if he can stay healthy all season long, which he's in a really great place right now with his legs. He's as healthy as he's been, running full speed. So that bodes well for our team. And then, the outfield's the situation where, we don't have a ton of experience, but we've got a lot of guys that are fighting for spots. You got Braden Frazier out there, who had a really solid year last year for us, and looks to be one of the starters. And then you've got Michael Seegers, who could potentially start at short or second, and then maybe even in center field. We're hoping Michael can really evolve into the leadoff type hitter that we would like to see, especially losing, Ben Norman from last year. You would like to see, for us, we'd like to see Michael with his speed and his ability to steal bases, kind of a more traditional leadoff guy. That's a position that we're hoping Michael can fill, and wherever he's playing, be it the infield or in the outfield, he's going to be a plus defender wherever he goes. You've got a kid, Anthony Mangano, who didn't play much last year, who has really maybe been one of the most improved, if not the most improved bat on the team. Left-handed bat with power. Anthony can run. He's fighting for one of those outfield spots. You got Sam Peterson, who is a true freshman, who you're going to see out there quite a bit. A dynamic player with his speed and his power. Really looking forward to seeing what Sam's going to bring to the table this year. And then Keaton Anthony's another guy who's been in the program, had to deal with some injury situations, but he's a dual player, really good hitter, maybe playing some in the outfield. Definitely can swing the bat and possibly pitch. You got Kyle Huxdorff, fighting for a spot out there, junior college transfer from Iowa Western, who's a really good defender in center field. So that's kind of the going around the diamond, what's going on, what's out there, and who's fighting for jobs. You've got a big battle on who's going to be the starting rotation. And I honestly can't even, I don't want to miss anybody, so I'm going to get my sheet out here, but you're looking at the guys with experience that are coming back. You got Cam Bauman there, you've got Duncan Davitt, and then you've got Ty Langenberg, who was a freshman last year, saw some innings, and Ty has really made a big jump, and we're excited about where he's at. You got Dylan Nedved, and we didn't, he's been a dual guy for us, the last 2 years, and Dylan is primarily pitching now. He wanted to make a run at one of the starting spots on the weekend, as opposed to being the closer. It's a good situation for us on the staff to have, because if we decide not to use Dylan as a starter, we know that we've got one of the best closers in the Big Ten in our back pocket right there. Tough to pull that guy unless you have somebody who can step into that role, and we've got several who are fighting for a back end spot. Ben DeTay has had an outstanding year to this point, and we feel like he's a guy that could potentially do that. You've got the two freshmen who are fighting for starting spots, and if they end up not being starters, what are their roles going to be? Is it going to be kind of a bookend start, or is it going to be move them to the back end with Marcus Morgan and Brody Breck, both just really great arms, and two guys that from a maturity standpoint are way ahead of their years, and we're big time excited about those two guys. So we've got a lot of options. Will Christopherson is another one I wanted to talk about. Will transferred from Michigan State, Quad City kid who, another guy who's fighting for a weekend spot, but if not, we know can be a bookend starter, or he could be a back end guy, could be the closer with his slider. It's just filthy. He's got a great slider, actually 3 different versions of it, and we're excited about Will, and just keep going down the list. But there's a lot of guys that I just mentioned that are talented and have the ability to give us really quality innings.
What's it like?
What do you say, Casey? One guy I forgot that could be a weekend starter for us is Connor Schultz, grad transfer from Butler, was preseason Big East Pitcher of the Year. and we just didn't get to see Connor much because he had some surgery on his hip labrum, and he didn't do much in the fall. But he's been really good since we hit November, and he is right there fighting for a starting role on the weekend. And really excited about having Connor on the staff.
So, talk about having the non-conference opponents back, because that's something you didn't have last year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all of us are fired up about that. I mean,
I bet.
To be able to play a 56 game schedule and have a fair chance to get into the NCAA tournament and just play a normal season. That's what we're all hoping for. And we're hoping that, like we talked earlier, that COVID doesn't knock a lot of those series out with teams being, sick, and, going into it, optimistically, hopefully we're able to play all of them. And then being able to play the midweek games is vitally important to everyone's program, because that's the chance for your freshmen. That's the chance for a lot of pitchers that don't throw on the weekend to get their innings and to develop. And it's just back to normal schedule is super exciting for all of us.
Absolutely. Looking at the Big Ten this year, where is to also have the tournament back again, what's that going to be like to have more of, with the tournament back and trying to get in, and as well as just where do you think the Big Ten is at right now?
I think it's in a great place. I think we're really talented. I felt like we got cheated last year because of playing the all Big Ten schedule, which, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, because that's playing on all 44 games, all conference games is probably the toughest schedule as anybody played in the entire country. But yet we weren't playing outside competition, so they kind of used that against us as far as the regional situation goes. But that was a grind. I mean, it was something none of us had ever done. But every game was a conference game, and the positive to that was that we played every team. Whereas the Big Ten schedule now, we're back to not playing 4 teams, computer generated schedule, luck of the draw on who you miss and who you play. Some teams have an easy schedule, some teams have a harder schedule. And so that part of it, none of us really ever liked, but it is what it is, and you have to deal with it. But that plays into the fight for the 8 teams to make the conference tournament in a league where I feel like most years now we have at least 6 to 9 teams in the talk for a possible at-large bid. That's how talented the league is. And 1 through 13, there are no weak teams in the league. Everybody's program has continued to improve. And this year, probably more than any, I don't think any of us have a really good feel on who the favorites are and who they aren't. Because I think everybody in the league feels like anybody in the conference could be that team.
Yeah, I totally agree. But what's it gonna take for you guys to really kind of get up there? What do you guys really have to do to get up to the top of the Big Ten?
Well, one, I think we need to stay healthy. That's a given for everybody. And when I say that, not just from an injury standpoint, but from a COVID standpoint, because you have one big shutdown can really throw off a baseball season. It can throw it out of kilter for a number of weeks. So I think the team that ends up winning the league is going to probably be the lucky one that the chips fell their way with not only their team staying healthy, but maybe you're going to play someone else and they have to cancel and you miss a weekend. That's a death blow to a baseball team. Once you start playing, keeping guys into their routines and keeping guys healthy on the mound with the number of pitches they're throwing. Anytime you have a weekend or games that you miss, that throws you off probably more than any other sport. So I think that's going to be a big part of it. But for us, if everything went well, it's just, can our offense take a step up? Can we play as good a defense as we did last season, where we were one of the better teams defensively in the Big Ten? And then is the pitching depth really as good as we think it is? Will those guys, when they step out across the white line and the lights come on, are they going to perform up to their abilities, because I do believe that we have the guys who can get it done on the mound and get it done against anybody in the country, not just games here and there. And that's where we're going to have to get off to a good start, and you never really know how that's going to go, because being in the North and being inside, I've seen it in 35 years where years I thought we were really ready to go, and then it was very glaring that once you got outside and actually started to play, that you weren't where you needed to be, and vice versa, where I didn't think we were close, and then we got outside and it was like, oh, okay, we're in a pretty good place right here. You really don't know until you play those first 2 weekends and see where you're at. This team has some experience, but it also has a lot of new guys. It's kind of split right down the middle, 22 new, 22, returners. And I feel like the captains and the leadership from the older players has been as good as it's ever been in our program, and that this team came together chemistry wise really quick. And I think this, Casey, that it's pretty easy to have the great chemistry when nobody's making a lineup and nobody's sitting on the bench and nobody's getting any when everybody's getting to play. But that's one thing that is also an unknown until you start playing games. How is that chemistry and that camaraderie gonna go once there are guys that aren't playing in the game? And I feel like that for us to win, that has to be one of the strong suits, is just us believing in one another and playing together, and that toughness side of it, that you really don't know exactly where you're at until you start playing games. I think this team has the chance, if things will go our way with the sickness and the injury, that if guys perform up to their ability, we could make a legit run.
All right. Rick Heller, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck this season. We'll talk to you throughout the year.
Thanks, Casey. Appreciate you having me.